Hi everyone, welcome back to the Voice of Dr. Yan. In the last section, our guest Claire Lopez, who's the national security expert and also Middle East issue expert, has shared her knowledge with us about the history of Israel and those Arabic countries around Israel, as well as terrorist organizations, as we heard every day, like Hamas, Jihad, Hezbollah. Of course, that is just a brief introduction, but it really gives us a lot of understanding about the Russian Soviet Union behind it, and also this kind of hidden connection of those Arabic regimes and why are they against Israel. And Claire, in this section, first of all, I would like to hear your opinion about the recent global pro-Hamas, Palestine protest campaign. It's like overnight, just after the bloody massacre happened in Israel on 7th October, when people are all shocked to hear that babies are killed, women are killed and raped, and they are burned, they are beheaded. All these things, none of human beings should do that. But why we didn't see the large scale of the protest or support for Israel and to give the justice for the past lives? Instead, we have seen a lot of free Palestine and pro-Hamas slogans and these kind of marches come out. I think I have heard some people comment. They said most of these protesters, especially the Western people, they may have no idea of Palestine until the moment the protests start, and immediately they join the Palestine pro-Hamas campaign. So, besides the propaganda we have seen from Russia, from terrorist organization, from China, which we can see clearly their shadow inside, what would you think will, inside this kind of large scale, unbelievable campaigns at the same time globally?
I agree with you. It is shocking to see what is taking place in our streets in America, in Europe, and certainly on our college campuses. But we have to go back a ways to understand where this comes from. And so remember, we talked about the red-green axis. We could add black to that, red-black-green axis, red communists, Marxists, tyrannies, black, the Black Lives Matter movement, which of course is communist and Marxist, and green, of course, for the Islamic element that we're talking about. So if we go back to the 1917 Russian Revolution, that brought communism into Russia, and later then the Soviet Union, and now once again Russia. That communist Marxist ideology has spread all over the world, certainly to China, but many other places, and including has a presence in America and on American campuses among some of the very leftist and indeed communist, Marxist ranks of the professors on these campuses. So you have that element which has used ideas like intersectionality, meaning whomever they designate to be an oppressed minority. Once upon a time it was women, maybe it was, gays at some point in time. Now it's the LMNOP alphabet soup, and it's others who are deemed to be marginalized or oppressed people, dividing the country into interest groups, oppressed and oppressors. So that's the communist side of it. We have a preview of that if you want to look at a very important book, Chapter 13 of W. Cleon Skousen, former FBI agent's book, written in 1958. It's called The Naked Communist. Take a look at Chapter 13, which is called The 45 Goals of Communism Today, meaning 1958, and look how they talk about these issues we just raised, in particular, gaining control over the schools, the teachers' unions, and the curricula of all of these schools. Communists, the Reds. Okay, where does the green come from? Well, we talked about, of course, Muhammad, the 7th century on forward, but Hamas. So Hamas was a successor, I guess you might say, to an original, a pro-Muslim Brotherhood group out of Egypt, founded by the Sheikh Ahmed Yassin in Gaza back in about the 1970s. From that emerged eventually by 1988 Hamas itself. Hamas is an acronym, and in Arabic, if I pronounce it as well as I can, please here, Harakat Muqawama al-Islamiyya. In other words, the Islamic Resistance Movement. That's what Hamas means, and it is a Gazan branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. Well, what's the Muslim Brotherhood? Muslim Brotherhood is a jihad organization founded by Hassan al-Banna, a student at the university in Cairo back in 1928, and he and his fellow students were upset that in Turkey 4 years prior, remember we're talking about the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, when Mustafa Kemal Ataturk took over what was left of Turkey after World War I, he secularized the government and he abolished the Islamic Caliphate, the last one then in existence in 1924. Well, Hassan al-Banna and his fellow students and many Muslims were very upset about this. And so in 1928, Hassan al-Banna founds the Muslim Brotherhood with the intention to bring back the Caliphate, to rule over Islam and eventually all the world. That is their objective. That is their stated objective. And the objective is to be found in their motto, which is, let's see, how does this go? Allah is our God, the Quran is our law, Muhammad is our guide, and jihad is our way. Dying in the way of Allah is our highest aspiration. That's the motto of the Muslim Brotherhood to this day. Well, they spread all over the world, not just Gaza. Hamas, yes, in Gaza. But in the United States are many, many front groups of the Muslim Brotherhood, which got founded here officially right after World War II. Unfortunately, President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1952 brought the leadership of the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood into the Oval Office of the White House, obviously not realizing who or what they were. But they got founded on the campuses of America with the Muslim Students Association in 1964 and spread from then till now across hundreds and hundreds of university campuses all over the country. That is part of this influence of Jew hatred on campuses. The other part comes from other subgroups, like the Students for Justice in Palestine, which is a campus of the American Muslim Palestine, which itself is a Brotherhood front group and is a founding member of the USCMO, the United States Council of Muslim Organizations, the political umbrella group of the Muslim Brotherhood in America. These are the campus groups that have so much sway, not just over the students, but over the professors, the deans, and the campus leadership. And because many students go on to graduate and then themselves become professors and so on and so forth, rising up the ranks in academia, that's how you get these campuses under the sway of not just the communists and the leftists, the Marxists, but also the green, the Islamic jihadi groups, especially like the Muslim Brotherhood. That's where this comes from.
Oh, so yeah, Claire, when you talk about Muslim Brotherhood, I remember you have talked about a lot of that before to me and mentioned that what they have done. And I have checked back to 2019, U.S. government was seeking to define the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorism organization. However, also there are so many experts, mostly Islamic experts, Americans. For example, in Carnegie International, some foundation or groups, they have talked about it. It is a mistake to define Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorism organization, push the mild Muslim into the side. So it seems America define it as a terrorism organization yet. So now when we say that when Israel is under attack and the U.S. is also the target for those terrorist campaigns, and behind them there is Muslim Brotherhood clearly behind it, and also of course Russia and China. Do you think it's necessary that American government could define it as terrorist organization in a short period? Maybe
in the past, I opposed designating the Muslim Brotherhood to the United States Foreign Terrorist Organizations list because up until the most current time, the Sabbath massacre of October the 7th, in the United States, the Muslim Brotherhood and its front groups like CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, or ISNA, Islamic Society of North America, and so forth, had operated mostly in the realm of subversion. Now, that's bad enough. I think it's actually worse than terrorism, to tell you the truth, because subversion is so insidious that many people don't recognize it, whereas a flat-out terrorist attack is easily seen and then countered. And for that reason, I thought, no, we should focus on the Muslim Brotherhood as a source of subversion of our Judeo-Christian-based constitution. Nobody wanted to do that either. But now, after the Sabbath massacre of October the 7th, 2023, Americans were killed. Americans were taken hostage and remain hostage even as we speak now. We are not sure how many.
This says 500, maybe.
No. That was a mistaken interpretation. 500 Americans means how many Americans citizens might be present in the Gaza Strip, but cannot get out now because the borders are all closed. That's what that means. And it's not even certain that all of those Americans who are there want to leave. But that means those who are within the Gaza Strip now, but cannot get out because the borders are closed. Among those we know being held hostage by Hamas, maybe many of them in those tunnels under Gaza, approximately, if I remember the number here, let me grab it quickly, around a few dozen. I don't have the number right in front of me, but a few dozen, maybe as many as 40 or so, are actual hostages being held by Hamas. But the point being that this time, on the Sabbath massacre of 7 October, Americans were targeted and killed by Hamas, which is the Muslim Brotherhood in Gaza. And so I think that at this point, I would revisit the issue of designating the Muslim Brotherhood to the Foreign Terrorist Organizations list. Now, of course, as we know, Hamas itself already is on that list, and that's where it should remain. Well, as long as it exists, which the Israeli Defense Forces are now going to destroy it, as they should, as they must, in Gaza.
Sure. Oh, yeah. So today you told me that you wear in blue and white, and you wear the pin of America and Israel flag to show your respect to Israel as a long-term friendship. And you have been visited Israel for multiple times, and you've been to the area close to Gaza and near the West Bank and near Jordan. Israel is not a big country anyway. So when you see what happened in Israel today, I mean, at that time, when you hear about the massacre happening in October, and when you see the anti-Semitism globally today, so do you feel very surprised because suddenly Russia and the influence and so strong and behind the Arabic regimes, and they become united like Jordan. Jordan was, has a lot of conflict with Hamas for long term, but now they stand with Hamas against Israel. Suddenly it's kind of all these Arabic countries change their faces, and like Turkey, Erdogan flew to, Iran, the PM visit Turkey today, and also he has met Hamas leader, and he will go to other countries. They become ally. So altogether, these things, do you think when you talk to the politicians or staffs in Israel government, do they have this kind of anticipation before? This kind of crisis may happen one day, or they believe they could maintain the peace with the countries around all the times.
Yeah. A lot of questions in there. Let's begin with the alliance among Russia, Iran, and China. These are the regimes, tyrannical regimes, not the same. Communist in China, of course, the Chinese Communist Party rules China. A tyrannical regime in Russia under Vladimir Putin, who, like Hamas, has invaded its neighboring country, Ukraine, and committed slaughter and war crimes against the people of Ukraine for more than a year, going on 2 years almost. And then Iran, which is under the Shiite rulers of what they call Twelver Islam, the followers of the 12th Imam in Shiite Islam. Likewise, tyrannical, Islamic, the Islamic Republic of Iran. But these three are formed together in an alliance. And we can see them backing up one another and backing Hamas in the current conflict in the Middle East. Now, when we talk about Israel and Hamas, of course, they have been fighting for a very long time. After 2005, in 2005, maybe I should say, the Israeli government under then Prime Minister Ariel Sharon gave back Gaza, which had been taken in a war of defense legally after the 1967 war, but gave it back in 2005 to Hamas. Pulled all the Jewish people, their homes, their synagogues out, left behind for the Gazans very nice greenhouses in which they could grow fruits and vegetables. And the first thing they did, of course, was to smash them all and destroy them. But pulled out all Jewish presence out of Gaza in 2005. No more Jews, no more Islamic Defense Forces in Gaza after 2005. None. Zero. In 2006, there were elections in Gaza, and Hamas was in the elections up against the Palestinian Authority that's got its headquarters in Ramallah, which is located in Samaria. And Hamas won. And they kicked the Palestinian Authority out and murdered them and killed them and threw them off rooftops. We saw this in horrible videos. So from that point onwards, the jihad organization of Hamas has ruled Gaza alone, all by itself, and brought in weapons through tunnels from the Sinai Desert into Gaza, provided by Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran's regime, sometimes brought in by sea off the Mediterranean as well. And that's how they built up this large stockpile of missiles and rockets, some of which they are now making themselves as well. So yes, when I was in Israel multiple times and near these places that were so savagely invaded by these Hamas jihadis on October 7th, the Sabbath, I was in some of the communities nearby, like Sderot. And I'll tell you what, in Sderot, they took us to a playground for children. But the playground was underground. The slides, the swings, the merry-go-rounds, everything underground to protect the children while they played from the rockets and the missiles that Hamas shot at them all the time. Other communities too. They also took us on another trip down into one of the tunnels that crossed over from Gaza into a kibbutz in Israel. And when we were down there, most of it was blocked up now. It was completely, emptied out and blocked up. It was blocked by the Israeli Defense Forces once they discovered it, of course. But the part that we could go down into was completely lined, top to bottom and around, in concrete. Now, where did that concrete come from? It came from UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, the one and only United Nations agency devoted to refugees of one particular group only. Well, they gave, with donations from the United States, millions of dollars, and Europe, all kinds of supplies, food, as well as bags of cement. It was meant to build houses and schools and clinics in Gaza. But what did they use it for? They used it to make tunnels to invade into Israel and kill Israeli people. So that is the reality of what we're looking at. And then, of course, the invasion happened on October the 7th, Sabbath massacre of Hamas jihadis. And by the way, after them came many, many hundreds of Gazan civilians who came to rape and loot after the Hamas jihadis had already murdered, as you said, women, children, elderly, chopped off heads, burned babies alive in their cribs. And you know how we know about this? We know about this because the Hamas jihadis themselves took videos of what they were doing. They were proud of what they were doing, and they put all the videos on social media. Now, the Israelis have put together those videos, and they're showing them now to journalists who didn't want to believe what these savages had really done. I think those videos should be shown on every campus in America, and Western Europe too. But every campus in America, those videos should be shown to the students and the faculty and the presidents and deans of those colleges and universities.
I totally agree with you. Even as we have seen those Hamas leader, like someone called Musa Abu Mazuk, talk about the tunnels are not to protect civilians in Gaza, but to protect the Hamas fighters. And all the things, we have seen enough report that all the things that supplied to Gaza to help the civilians actually are storaged by Hamas in the tunnels for their own usage. And this is really it's not strange for our Chinese, because it's like during Shanghai lockdown in the anti-COVID policy period last year, just Shanghai government, they store a lot of vegetables, food, medical supplies, but they don't supply it to people. And people just die in hunger and also in the emergency situation in Shanghai. So as a person from communist China, I would say definitely when Hamas talk about we need the global help for the human rights, this is totally a lie. But so many naive people, or pretend to be naive people, refuse to hear the truth. And since we have talked about this, when we talk about you said they should see the video, they should see how Hamas recorded all these things, celebrate their brutal behaviors. Back to China, Chinese Communist Party's propaganda also can reflect their attitude, like their top mouthpiece of global time, Hu Xijin, has posted a lot on social media denying the beheaded crimes, and also talk about free Palestine, talk about, Israel should cease fire and sit with Palestine, talk about how to negotiate some peaceful. Then don't think about revenge, all these things. Talking about, they're helping Russia, helping other Hamas campaigns in the UN to deny all those bills against Hamas. So, Claire, we know that Israel always thought China would be their friend, and they helped communist China a lot in the past few decades. And they even believe that Russia could one day become their real friend or collaborator until, the massacre happened. So when massacre happened, when Israel sees the response from Russia and China, do you think they will still hold this kind of beautiful hope that to be friends with these communist regimes, or for their survival in the future, their security in the future? Do you think they would change their attitude and try to, eliminate this evil ideology and the regimes from the world?
You're making a very good point there, and that is the hypocrisy of tyrannical regimes and their leaderships, whether they be communist, whether they be Islamic, as in Iran and Gaza. I think that there will be a lot of reassessment going on after this war is over. For now, of course, the objective must be for Israel and all of us who stand with Israel to defeat Hamas, to obliterate certainly its leadership from Gaza, and along with that, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, so that those Islamic Jihad terror groups can never again threaten Israel, the Israeli people, harm, hurt, or kill them ever again. What happens in Gaza afterwards, we'll have to see how that plays out. And there are many ideas being talked about even now. But I think the most important point you just made there is about the hypocrisy of the leadership of tyrannies. I would say that if anybody has ever looked, and you don't have to actually be in Gaza, but with drone footage these days and other photography, it's possible to see the humongous, they're aesthetically ugly, I have to say, but humongous villas that the leadership of Hamas built for itself in Gaza. But also you mentioned some of the other leadership of Hamas, like Abu Marzouk, like Ismail Haniyeh, like Khalid Mashal, who have been sheltering in safe haven in Doha, Qatar, for many years now. And they remain there to this day, living in in very nice accommodations in Doha, Qatar, strong supporter of Hamas. So all of these relationships have to be taken into account, and there's going to have to be a reckoning during the war, when Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad must be obliterated, and afterwards as well, for any who may not actually be in Gaza right now, but their day of reckoning will come.
Thank you so much, Claire. And it's very great we can have you today to share your knowledge with us. And I do learn a lot. And I hope you can return to my podcast in the future to continuously share your knowledge with us. And for the Voice of Dr. Yan every Saturday and Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be on air from America Out Loud Radio Network and iHeartRadio. After that, you can listen to it from various apps for free like Pandora, Spotify, and Google Podcast.